Most men believe that caring more will earn them more respect. They exhaust themselves proving their worth, explaining their value, and desperately seeking approval from those who should be seeking theirs. I have watched this tragedy unfold countless times throughout my years in politics, war, and leadership. The harder they try, the less they are valued. The more they give, the less they receive. But I have also witnessed something remarkable. The moment a man stops caring about outcomes he cannot control, the world begins to bend toward him. When you withdraw your desperate energy, those around you suddenly realize what they stand to lose. This is not cruelty. This is strategy. I shall teach you why indifference becomes your greatest weapon and how caring less makes others care more. This is the paradox of power that weak men never understand. Asterisk, asterisk. The psychology of scarcity. Asterisk, asterisk. Let me begin with the truth I learned in the darkest hours of leadership. People do not value what they can easily obtain. During the war, I observed how nations treated their allies. Those who begged for attention were ignored. Those who made demands from a position of desperation were dismissed. But the nation that could walk away, that had other options, that nation commanded respect. The same principle governs every human interaction. When you are too available, too eager, too invested in any particular outcome, you become predictable. Predictable men are discarded the moment something more interesting appears. I have seen brilliant minds wasted because they could not master this simple truth. Your attention, your approval, your presence. These are currencies, and like all currencies, their value is determined by scarcity, not abundance. The man who distributes his attention freely finds it worth nothing in return. The man who withdraws it strategically finds others competing for what little he offers. Asterisk, asterisk, the first law. Never chase what retreats from you. Asterisk, asterisk, I have observed men destroy themselves chasing relationships that were already over, positions that were never meant for them, and respect from people who had already decided against them. They mistake persistence for strength. They confuse desperation for dedication. When someone pulls away from you, your instinct will be to pursue. This instinct will destroy you every time. The moment you chase, you confirm their assessment that they are more valuable than you. You become the pursuer, and they become the prize. This dynamic, once established, rarely reverses. Instead, I learned to do the opposite. When others retreated, I became still. When they created distance, I created more. Not out of spite, but out of strategic understanding. People respect what they cannot easily control. They pursue what might slip away from them. This applies to every domain of life. In negotiations, the side that needs the deal less holds all the power. In relationships, the person who can walk away sets all the terms in leadership. The one who remains calm while others panic becomes the natural authority. Asterisk, asterisk. The power of strategic withdrawal. Asterisk, asterisk. There comes a moment in every interaction when you must decide, will you be the one who needs or the one who is needed? This decision shapes everything that follows. I remember countless meetings where lesser men would argue, plead, and exhaust themselves trying to convince others of their position. They would stay late, send endless communications, and wear themselves thin trying to force agreement. These men always lost, even when their ideas were superior. The wise leader does something different. He presents his position clearly, answers reasonable questions, and then becomes silent. He does not argue with those who will not listen. He does not convince those who have already decided. He simply withdraws his energy and lets others feel the weight of his absence. This withdrawal is not passive. It is calculated. You are not hiding. You are repositioning. You are not giving up. You are forcing others to come to you. When you stop chasing outcomes, you start attracting them. Asterisk. Asterisk. Why desperation repels authority. Asterisk. Asterisk. Desperation carries a scent that authority can smell from great distances. The desperate man broadcasts his weakness through every gesture, every word, every glance. He seeks permission where he should command attention. He explains where he should simply decide. He apologizes where he should stand firm. I have watched men with tremendous capabilities render themselves powerless through desperation. They had the skills, the intelligence, and the opportunity, but they lacked the composure to let others recognize their value naturally. They pushed when they should have pulled back. They spoke when they should have remained silent. Authority gravitates toward those who do not desperately need it. This is the great irony of power. The more you chase it, the more it flees. The more you need it, the less worthy you appear to receive it. But the moment you become genuinely indifferent to whether you obtain it or not, it begins to flow toward you. Asterisk, asterisk. The art of controlled indifference. Asterisk, asterisk. True indifference cannot be faked, but it can be cultivated. It begins with understanding what you can and cannot control. You cannot control how others respond to you. You cannot control whether opportunities come your way. You cannot control the decisions that others make about your worth or your future. But you can control your response to these things. You can control your energy, your focus, and your standards. When you shift your attention from trying to control others to mastering yourself, something powerful happens. You stop radiating neediness and start projecting strength. This is not about becoming cold or uncaring about everything. It is about becoming selective about what deserves your emotional investment. Most things do not. Most people do not. Most outcomes, even when they seem important in the moment, matter far less than you imagine. I learned to ask myself one question in every situation. What would happen if I simply did not care about this particular outcome? Often, the answer revealed that very little would actually change. But my energy, my peace, and my power would all increase dramatically. The man who can genuinely say, "I will be fine either way," possesses a strength that others immediately recognize. They may not understand it, but they feel it, and they respond to it. Asterisk, asterisk. When others begin to panic, asterisk, asterisk. Here is what happens when you master the art of not caring. Those who took your attention for granted suddenly notice its absence. Those who dismissed your value suddenly question their assessment. Those who assumed you would always be available suddenly fear you might not be. This is not manipulation. This is natural consequence. When you stop being predictably available, you become unpredictably valuable. When you stop seeking their approval, they start seeking yours. When you stop caring about their opinion of you begins to rise. I have seen this pattern repeat itself in every domain of human interaction. The employee who stops desperately seeking promotion often finds himself considered for advancement. The negotiator who genuinely prepares to walk away often gets the terms he wanted. The leader who stops trying to please everyone often finds more people willing to follow. They panic not because you have become cruel, but because they realize they may have misjudged your value. They begin to wonder what else they failed to notice about you. They start to question whether they made the right choice in dismissing you. This doubt creates opportunity. But remember this crucial point. Their panic is not your victory. It is simply information. Use it wisely, but do not let it corrupt you back into caring too much about their approval. The moment you start caring again about their opinion, you lose the very thing that made you valuable to them. This is why true indifference must be genuine. It must come from a deep understanding that your worth does not depend on any single person's recognition of it. You are not trying to make them panic. You are simply living according to your own standards, regardless of their response. Response, asterisk, asterisk. The mechanics of self-worth, asterisk, asterisk. When you stop caring about their approval, you force others to confront an uncomfortable truth. They must now evaluate you based on your actions rather than your desperation to please them. This shift terrifies most people because it requires actual discernment rather than lazy assumptions. I have watched this transformation countless times. The man who once begged for recognition suddenly becomes impossible to ignore when he stops begging. Not because he changed his capabilities, but because he changed his energy. He no longer broadcasts weakness through his need for validation. Your self-worth becomes internal rather than external. You stop measuring yourself by their responses and start measuring yourself by your own standards. This independence creates a magnetic quality that draws others toward you, even as you care less about attracting them. Asterisk, asterisk. The second law, scarcity, creates value in all things. Asterisk, asterisk. Every resource becomes precious only when it appears limited. I learned this principle governing nations, but it applies equally to governing yourself. Your time, your attention, your emotional investment. The moment these become abundant and freely given, they lose all power to influence. The man who is always available becomes invisible. The one who responds immediately to every request becomes predictable. The leader who agrees with everyone becomes irrelevant. But the man who must be earned, who must be convinced, who must be impressed before he commits his resources, that man commands respect. I have seen capable individuals destroy their own influence by being too generous with their availability. They answered every call, attended every meeting, and agreed to every request. Their eagerness to help transformed them from valuable allies into expected servants. Strategic scarcity is not cruelty. It is protection. You are protecting your energy from being wasted on those who do not value it. You are protecting your influence from being diluted through overuse. You are protecting your peace from being disturbed by every minor crisis that others refuse to handle themselves. When you become selective about what receives your attention, everything that does receive it carries more weight. Your words matter more because you speak less. Your presence matters more because it cannot be assumed. Your approval matters more because it must be earned. Asterisk, asterisk. The third law, let others prove their worth to you. Asterisk, asterisk. Most men spend their entire lives trying to prove themselves worthy of others' attention. They audition for friendships, relationships, and opportunities by demonstrating how much value they can provide. This approach guarantees they will be taken for granted. I learned to reverse this dynamic entirely. Instead of proving my worth to others, I created situations where they had to prove their worth to me, not through arrogance or superiority, but through standards that demanded quality in return. When someone seeks your time, do not immediately grant it. Make them explain why it matters. When someone requests your help, do not rush to provide it. Determine first whether they have exhausted their own resources. When someone wants your approval, do not give it freely. Let them earn it through actions that align with your values. This is not about being difficult for the sake of being difficult. This is about training others to value what you offer by making it clear that you value it yourself. People treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you through your responses to their behavior. The moment you start requiring others to meet your standards before receiving your resources, everything changes. Those who truly value your contribution will rise to meet those standards. Those who simply wanted to use you will disappear. This natural filtering process saves you enormous amounts of wasted energy. Asterisk, asterisk. Why weakness attracts exploitation. Asterisk, asterisk. I have observed that weakness does not inspire protection. It invites predation. The man who presents himself as harmless, agreeable, and desperate for acceptance becomes an obvious target for those who seek easy victories. Weak men believe that displaying their vulnerability will earn them sympathy and support. Instead, it marks them as safe to ignore, easy to manipulate, and convenient to discard when something better appears. Their niceness becomes their prison because others learn they can be mistreated without consequence. The world respects strength, even when it disagrees with that strength's direction. A man who stands firm in his principles, who cannot be easily swayed by pressure or temptation, who maintains his standards regardless of opposition, that man earns respect even from his enemies. Strength does not require aggression. It requires consistency. When your actions align with your stated values, when your boundaries remain firm under pressure, when your standards do not lower to accommodate others' convenience, you project the kind of strength that others instinctively recognize and respect. Asterisk, asterisk, the art of strategic distance. Asterisk, asterisk. Distance is not abandonment, it is perspective. When you step back from situations that demand your constant emotional investment, you gain the clarity to see them as they truly are, rather than as you wish them to be. I discovered that my best decisions came not in the heat of crisis, but in the cool silence of withdrawal. When I removed myself from the immediate pressure to react, to fix, to save, I could observe patterns that were invisible up close. Most problems solve themselves when you stop interfering with their natural resolution. This distance also forces others to develop their own capabilities. When you are always available to solve their problems, they never learn to solve problems themselves. Your helpfulness becomes their weakness. Your withdrawal becomes their opportunity to grow stronger. Strategic distance creates space for others to miss your presence, to recognize your value, and to realize what they lose when they take you for granted. But this only works when the distance is genuine, not calculated to manipulate their response. You must truly be focused elsewhere, building something meaningful in your life. Asterisk, asterisk, when your absence speaks louder than your presence. Asterisk, asterisk, there is a moment when your absence from their chaos becomes more powerful than your presence in it. When you stop participating in drama, stop responding to manipulation, stop trying to manage outcomes you cannot control, something remarkable happens. The system that depended on your participation begins to reveal its true nature. Those who genuinely valued your contribution will reach out with respect and sincerity. Those who only used you for convenience will move on to easier targets. Those who took your presence for granted will suddenly notice the hole you left behind. Your silence becomes more compelling than any argument you could make. Your absence becomes more persuasive than any plea you could offer. Your indifference becomes more powerful than any demand you could voice. But here is the crucial point. This power only exists when your absence is real, not performed. You cannot fake genuine indifference. You cannot pretend not to care while secretly monitoring their every response. True power comes from actually building a life so fulfilling that their approval becomes genuinely optional. Asterisk, asterisk, the paradox of leadership through detachment. Asterisk, asterisk. The greatest leaders I have known possessed this quality. They cared deeply about their mission but remained detached from whether others joined them in it. They would be pleased to have support, but they did not need it to move forward. This detachment made them irresistible to follow. When you stop needing followers, you start attracting them. When you stop seeking approval, you start commanding it. When you stop chasing respect, you start earning it. This is not a technique to manipulate others. This is the natural result of becoming a person worth following. The man who desperately needs others to validate his direction appears weak and uncertain. The man who knows where he is going and moves forward regardless appears strong and confident. Others sense this difference immediately and respond accordingly. D accordingly. Asterisk, asterisk. The fourth law, excellence becomes your only standard. Asterisk, asterisk. When you stop caring about their approval, you must replace that energy with something more powerful. I discovered that the man who seeks no external validation must become his own harshest judge. This is not cruelty toward yourself. This is the birth of true standards. I have watched men lower their expectations to match the mediocrity around them. They justify poor performance because everyone else performs poorly. They accept disrespect because everyone else accepts it. They compromise their values because everyone else has compromised theirs. This path leads only to irrelevance. The moment you stop seeking their approval, you must start demanding excellence from yourself, not for them, but for the man you are becoming. Every action becomes a statement of your character. Every decision becomes a reflection of your worth. Every standard you maintain becomes armor against a world that would drag you down to its level. I learned to ask myself not, will this please them, but will this make me stronger? Not will this win their approval, but will this align with my principles? The man who answers to himself alone must ensure that judge is worthy of respect. Asterisk, asterisk. The fifth law, your standards filter your world. Asterisk, asterisk. Here is what most men never understand. The standards you maintain determine the quality of people who remain in your life. When you accept poor treatment, you attract those who give poor treatment. When you tolerate disrespect, you surround yourself with those who cannot offer respect. I have observed this principle in every domain of leadership. The general who accepts cowardice from his officers soon commands an army of cowards. The businessman who tolerates dishonesty from his partners finds himself surrounded by thieves. The man who allows others to waste his time discovers his entire circle consists of time wasters. But when you raise your standards and enforce them consistently, something remarkable occurs. Those who cannot meet your standards naturally eliminate themselves from your presence. They find excuses to avoid you, create distance, or simply disappear from your life entirely. This is not loss. This is purification. The high-quality individuals who previously avoided you because of the low-quality people around you suddenly take notice. They recognize a kindred spirit. They see someone who values what they value. Your elevated standards become a beacon that attracts excellence while repelling mediocrity. This filtering process can be uncomfortable. You may find yourself alone more often than before. But I learned that solitude among the excellent is far preferable to company among the mediocre. Quality relationships require quality standards. There is no exception to this rule. Asterisk, asterisk. Why desperation destroys discernment. Asterisk, asterisk. The desperate man cannot afford to be selective. He accepts whatever scraps of attention, respect, or opportunity come his way because he fears nothing better will arrive. This desperation blinds him to the true cost of accepting inferior treatment. I have seen brilliant individuals destroy their potential by accepting positions beneath their capabilities, relationships that diminish their worth, and friendships that drain their energy. They feared that rejecting these opportunities would leave them with nothing. Instead, accepting them prevented them from receiving what they truly deserved. When you stop being desperate for any particular outcome, your judgment becomes clear. You can evaluate opportunities based on their true merit rather than your immediate need. You can assess relationships based on their actual quality rather than your fear of loneliness. You can make decisions based on long-term benefit rather than short-term comfort. This clarity of judgment becomes one of your greatest assets. While others make emotional decisions driven by fear or neediness, you make strategic decisions based on objective assessment. This advantage compounds over time, leading to progressively better outcomes in every area of your life. Asterisk, asterisk, the sixth law. Indifference must be earned, not assumed. Asterisk, asterisk. True indifference cannot be manufactured through willpower alone. It must be earned through building a life so fulfilling that external approval becomes genuinely optional. The man who pretends not to care while secretly monitoring every response will eventually reveal his deception. I learned to build my indifference through achievement, through purpose. through creating value that existed independent of others' recognition. When your days are filled with meaningful work, when your efforts produce visible results, when your character grows stronger through discipline, the opinions of others naturally fade in importance. This is why mere technique fails. You cannot simply decide to stop caring and expect it to work. You must give yourself something more compelling to care about. Your mission, your development, your contribution to the world around you, these must become more important than any individual's approval or disapproval. The man who has built something significant in his life possesses natural indifference to petty criticism. The man who knows his own worth through his own achievements cannot be shaken by others' assessments. This authentic indifference is immediately recognizable and infinitely more powerful than any performance. Asterisk, asterisk, when they realize you have moved on. Asterisk, asterisk. There comes a moment when those who took you for granted suddenly understand that you are no longer available for their convenience. This realization creates a specific type of panic that I have witnessed countless times throughout my years of leadership. They begin to test whether your indifference is genuine. They may reach out with small requests to see if you respond with your former eagerness. They may create minor crises to see if you rush to solve them. They may offer token gestures of appreciation to see if you immediately return to your previous level of availability. How you respond to these tests determines whether your newfound power remains intact or crumbles back into the old patterns. The man who has truly moved on does not respond to these tests with either enthusiasm or hostility. He responds with the same measured consideration he would give to any new proposal from any new person. This consistency in your new standard terrifies them because it confirms that your change is real, not temporary. They begin to understand that they must now earn what they previously took for granted. Some will rise to meet this challenge. Many will not. Both outcomes serve your interests. Asterisk, asterisk. The seventh law, build while they wonder. Asterisk, asterisk. While others waste energy trying to understand your transformation, you must invest that same energy in building something meaningful. Your indifference to their approval means nothing if you use that freedom simply to become idle or bitter. I have observed that the most powerful transformations occur when a man withdraws his attention from seeking others' approval and redirects it toward creating genuine value. He develops skills they never knew he possessed. He pursues opportunities they never imagined he would consider. He builds relationships with people they never knew existed in his world. This building process serves multiple purposes. First, it provides concrete justification for your new standards. You are not simply rejecting their low-quality treatment. You are choosing higher quality alternatives. Second, it creates visible evidence of your growth, which naturally commands respect from those capable of recognizing quality. Third, and most importantly, it ensures that your transformation is permanent rather than temporary. The man who builds something meaningful during his period of withdrawal has no incentive to return to his former patterns of desperate approval seeking. He has tasted something better and will not willingly return to something lesser. Asterisk, asterisk. The natural consequences of authentic power. Asterisk, asterisk. When your indifference becomes genuine and your standards become real, several predictable outcomes occur. Those who previously dismissed you begin to reconsider their assessment. Those who took advantage of your availability suddenly find themselves having to work for your attention. Those who assumed you would always be there discover they were wrong. Some will attempt to restore the previous dynamic through guilt, manipulation, or false emergencies. They will suggest that your new boundaries are selfish, that your higher standards are unreasonable, that your reduced availability is cruel. These responses confirm that your transformation threatens their ability to exploit your former weakness. The choice before you is simple. You can continue exhausting yourself in the futile pursuit of others' approval, measuring your worth by their responses, living at the mercy of their moods and opinions, Or you can withdraw that desperate energy and redirect it toward building something that cannot be taken from you. Your character, your standards, your mission. I have shown you the laws that govern human nature. Scarcity creates value. Strength attracts respect. Standards filter your world. Excellence becomes your foundation. When you stop chasing their approval, they begin chasing yours. When you stop needing their validation, they start needing your attention. This is not cruelty. This is strategy. This is not manipulation. This is natural law. The moment you stop caring about outcomes you cannot control, you gain control over the only outcome that truly matters, yourself. Build while they wonder. Lead while they follow. Stand firm while they bend. And remember this above all else. The man who belongs to himself can never be owned by another. That is the power of indifference. That is the strength of self-possession. That is how you make them panic, by simply refusing to care.